2023 is coming to an end, so it's time to look back at all the new Star Wars stories that came out, which ones were my favorite, and what stories shouldn't be missed. Let's dive in. Starting off with the streaming series, 2023 gave us new seasons of The Bad Batch, The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and Young Jedi Adventures, and I'm really having a tough time deciding which one was my favorite. Ahsoka had a bit of a rockier start for me that got me more and more invested as the series continued. The Mandalorian, I felt, had the opposite trajectory where it started stronger and finished weaker, but it had some absolutely standout moments, like learning Kelleran Beck was the Jedi who saved Grogu. I also thought The Bad Batch was solid all the way through, diving deeper into the tragic fate of all clones after the rise of the Empire. Even Young Jedi Adventures, a series aimed at young children, had some stuff in it that I loved, like seeing some of my favorite High Republic book characters on screen. I think I'm going to give Ahsoka a slight edge over The Mandalorian this year, but honestly, it's very close. And I can't forget to mention Star Wars Visions Volume 2, which had some really standout episodes, especially Screecher's Reach. That short was absolutely chilling. But the streaming series get a lot of attention. I think most Star Wars fans already watch them. They don't need someone on YouTube telling them which of the 5 to prioritize. I like making these videos more to celebrate the books and comics and, of course, video games. So in 2023, make sure you play the one Star Wars video game that came out. Fortunately, it was awesome. Star Wars Jedi Survivor followed in the footsteps of Fallen Order as a great game built on top of a compelling story. I do think the first game had a better story, but Survivor was a better game in every other aspect. More gameplay options, more characters, larger environments, more force powers, more customization, just more everything. I played the game twice in a row and then watched Molly play it, and I want to play it again. It was simply a blast, and I would consider it one of my all-time favorite video games. Third-person action-adventure games with great stories are already my jam. To do that in Star Wars is a no-brainer for me. Okay, now let's get into books, where we had a lot more to parse through. The Battle of Jedha, Battle Scars, Hunters Battle for the Arena. There were a lot of battles this year. Cataclysm, Quest for Planet X, Path of Vengeance, Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade, From a Certain Point of View, Return of the Jedi, Tales of Light and Life, Crimson Climb, Jedi, Brave in Every Way, and The Eye of Darkness. I'm going to split this segment into the High Republic and then everything else, because I don't want to tell someone who hasn't been keeping up with those books to just dive right into Cataclysm, even though it was a book I loved. It just doesn't make sense to start there. So in general, I will just continue to call the High Republic a success for me. As someone who has loved reading Star Wars books since I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I was longing for a big story told over multiple books written by several authors like the old Legends days, and that's exactly what we're getting. I do admit that I'm glad we've started Phase 3 because I missed all the Phase 1 characters, and The Eye of Darkness was a fantastic introduction back into that part of the timeline. Outside of the High Republic, I think Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade by Delilah Dawson was my favorite of the year. Dawson was the perfect choice to write that story, and you just can't go wrong with her. She hasn't missed in Star Wars yet, in my opinion. If you've been longing for more Kira stories after her comics, Crimson Climb by E.K. Johnston connected to them quite well. I think this novel helped me truly understand her character in full, and it made me want to go back and watch Solo again immediately. It also has potential to set up things for Star Wars Outlaws next year. It wasn't my favorite book of the year, but if you want to dive into the criminal underworld a little more, this book will be up your alley. Finally, let's talk about comics, and this is where we really have to narrow things down because we got Star Wars, Darth Vader, Dr. Aphra, Bounty Hunters, Hidden Empire, Dark Droids, D-Squad, The High Republic Phases 2 and 3, The High Republic Adventures Phases 2 and 3, The Blade, Quest of the Jedi, The Nameless Terror, Edge of Balance, Precedent, Shadows of Starlight, Han Solo and Chewbacca, Yoda, Sana Staros, Hyperspace Stories, Tales from the Rancor Pit, Tales from the Death Star, The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a collection of Return of the Jedi one-shots. Yeah. Lots of issues to keep up with, so what should you focus on? I think the 2 crossover events, Hidden Empire and Dark Droids, would give you the best look at the major events happening in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. As far as the ongoing series go, I think Dr. Aphra and all its weirdness continues to be my favorite with its delightfully strange fun. But like in books, my favorite comics of the year were in the High Republic. The Phase 2 Marvel series was great all the way through, and I love how the Phase 3 comic has started. I also want to shout out the first issue of Shadows of Starlight, which was one of the best Star Wars comic issues I've ever read. And Star Wars issue 35 rocked, seeing Luke purify a red kyber crystal and receiving a vision of the Sith who originally bled it. Very cool stuff. But that brings us to the end of all my new favorites in their various categories. So, what was my favorite Star Wars story of the whole year? I've got to go with Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Spoilers on my shirt, I guess. I love those characters, I love their story, and as a game, it checked all my boxes. It gave me one of my new favorite Star Wars memories, especially in gaming, flying around with Merrin using her magic. But that's it for today. Now it's time to let me know what your favorite Star Wars stories were in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all our Star Wars coverage in 2024, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.